You know that feeling, right? You're staring into a sink full of murky water that just refuses to go down. It's that universal household headache, the clogged drain. But don't worry, because in this explainer, we are going to unclog the truth about all of your options. Oh yeah, we have all been there. The water starts pooling around your feet in the shower, or maybe you hear that ominous gurgle coming from the kitchen sink. It's a sure sign that there is a problem lurking down in your pipes. It's annoying, it's kind of gross, and it's definitely something you gotta deal with. So, what's the right way to fight back against a clog? Well, it turns out you have a whole arsenal at your disposal. We're talking everything from chemical powerhouses to some more patient natural solutions. So let's dive in and figure out which tool is the right one for your job.
First up, we've got the option a lot of people reach for in a panic, the chemical drain cleaner. You can think of this as the heavy artillery. It promises a super fast, powerful fix. But as you're about to see, all that power comes with some pretty serious strings attached.
So, how do these things actually work? Well, imagine a chemical cleaner as a sledgehammer for your pipes. They use incredibly strong stuff like sodium hydroxide, which is basically lye, or even sulfuric acid to just chemically obliterate whatever is blocking the way. They literally dissolve things like hair, grease, and soap scum right on contact. And here's the big trade-off. On one hand, yeah, these cleaners are incredibly fast and super effective. But the downsides? They're pretty significant. That chemical reaction creates a ton of heat, which can actually damage your pipes, especially if they're older metal or PVC. They also release some really nasty fumes, and there's a huge risk if they get mixed with other chemicals. And that brings us to this, which is so important. These are not just suggestions. They are absolute musts. You have to ventilate the room. You need to wear gloves. And please, whatever you do, never mix a chemical drain cleaner with anything else. If you mix it with something common like bleach or ammonia, you can create toxic chlorine gas. It's incredibly dangerous. You have to follow the instructions on the bottle to the letter. Okay, so let's move on from the sledgehammer to something a little more, well, refined. Option 2 is the enzyme approach. If chemical cleaners are like a sprint, these guys are a marathon. They're slow, they're steady, and they are much safer. So instead of a violent chemical reaction, these cleaners use a biological process. They're full of beneficial bacteria and enzymes that pretty much eat all the organic stuff that's clogging your pipes. Think of it like a team of microscopic Pac-Men, just slowly munching away at all the grease, the hair, and the gunk until the path is totally clear. And this just shows you the difference perfectly. The pros here are huge. They are safe for any kind of pipe, way better for the environment, and they are the only choice if you have a septic system because they won't kill off all that good bacteria. But what's the catch? Well, they take time. We're talking hours, maybe even days, and you might need to use a few doses. So they're fantastic for maintenance, but probably not your best bet for a real emergency. All right, let's get to our third and final option. This is the one you've probably heard about from a helpful relative, right? The classic do-it-yourself approach, using stuff you've already got right in your kitchen. This is usually some combination of baking soda and vinegar, which you then follow up with a flush of hot water. That fizzy reaction you see can help loosen up some minor grime, and if nothing else, it's a fantastic way to deodorize a smelly drain. Just remember, it's more of a maintenance tool, not really a clog buster. So the most important thing here is just to manage your expectations. I mean, it's cheap, you have the ingredients in your pantry, and it can definitely help with some really light buildup. But for a real stubborn clog that's been building up for weeks with hair and soap, yeah, this method is almost never going to be enough to actually solve the problem. And here's another really critical safety note, even for this method that seems so harmless. Your first instinct is probably to use boiling water, right? But if you have PVC or plastic pipes, that intense heat can actually warp the pipes or melt the seals. And trust me, that creates a much bigger, way more expensive problem than the original clog. So hot water from the top is fine. Boiling water is just too risky. Okay, so we've met our three fighters. You've got the powerful chemical, the patient enzyme, and the DIY remedy from the kitchen. The question is, how do you choose the right one for your specific situation? Let's put them all side by side. That should make the decision crystal clear. Which one are you going to send into the ring to battle your blockage? Okay, so this table breaks it all down beautifully. You need something fixed right now, and it's a really tough clog. The chemical cleaner is your high-speed but high-risk option.
Are you looking for safe, long-term maintenance, especially if you have a septic system? Enzymatic is the smart, steady choice, no question. Or are you just dealing with a slightly slow drain or maybe a bit of a smell? The natural approach is a great, low-cost first step to try.
But, sometimes the fight just isn't yours to win. You need to pay really close attention to these signs. If you have clogs in multiple drains at once, if you hear gurgling noises from the pipes, or if water is backing up in one drain when you use another, that all points to a much deeper problem, probably in your main sewer line. At that point, it is definitely time to hang up your gloves and call a professional plumber.
Of course, the best way to win the fight is to avoid it altogether, right? Simple little things like using drain screens to catch hair and never, ever pouring cooking grease down the drain. It really does solidify like wax in there. And maybe using an enzymatic cleaner once a month can save you a world of trouble.
And really, that's the key takeaway here. This quote just sums it all up perfectly. Understanding your options helps you act wisely, it helps you protect your pipes, and it helps you know when a problem is just too big to handle on your own. So, the next time you face that slow draining sink, you'll have the knowledge you need to make the right call. The only question is, will you be a DIY hero, or is it time to call in a pro? Thanks for tuning in.